Welcome to your new Fornino wood-fired oven by Valoriani. This video will show you how to assemble your new oven, how to operate it, types of food you can cook, and some of the optional extras you can buy for your Fornino oven. Your Fornino oven will arrive packaged in our wooden crate casing to ensure it arrives to you in one piece. Inside you will find everything you need to assemble the Fornino. Start by securing the 4 legs to the frame. Insert the bolts provided into the corresponding holes and screw the nuts on by hand. Then tighten with an Allen key and spanner. Lower the shelf so it rests on the notches on each leg. Make sure the shelf is flush and the holes match up. Again, insert the bolt and tighten the nuts by hand. Then tighten further with the Allen key and spanner. Do this for all 4 legs. Locate the 4 wheels along the nuts and bolts. Place the wheel on the end of the leg. Insert bolt from underneath. Screw bolt on by hand, and then, as before, tighten with an Allen key and spanner. Make sure all 4 wheels are securely fastened to each leg. Ensure all 4 wheel brakes are engaged so the stand does not move. The oven itself is very heavy. To move the oven into position, we recommend using a wheelbarrow or trolley. Once it's close enough, lift the oven onto the stand. This will require a minimum of 2 people. However, for safety, we recommend 4. When the oven is correctly positioned, it will drop into place. There is a metal hook provided in case a crane is needed. Next, slide the rain cap into the flue, making sure it's all the way in. Now, attach the flue securely onto the oven. Release the wheel brakes and gently roll the oven into your desired place. To extend the mouth of the oven, you can purchase this front shelf, an optional extra which allows you to rest pots and pans on it. To attach this, simply take out the screws. Align the holes of the shelf with the holes of the oven, then tighten the screws back in. Also available is this handy tool set holder. To attach this, unscrew the handle by holding the bolt with a spanner and unscrewing the screw with the Allen key. Once both sides are free, the handle will slide off. Using the same holes, slide the tool holder into place and use the nuts and bolts to screw back in. Slide the base of the tool holder on the leg so it's level with the stand shelf. Place your pizza peel, brush and turning peel into the tool set holder. These tools can also be purchased as extras. That completes the assembly of your new Valoriani Fornino wood oven. Welcome to the Valoriani family.
So this is it. The baby's arrived. It's all set up. We're ready to go. So let's talk about lighting the fire. And what you're going to need is basically 3 different sizes of wood. Okay, nice big pieces which we can use later on when the fire's really going well and you can actually get a really good body in the fire. Intermediate pieces which we use to gradually build the oven up to temperature, and these little small pieces which we're going to use to light the fire. So nice dry hard wood, should have a moisture content of less than 20%. So what we're going to do, we're going to start with a nice small wax firelighter. Don't use paraffin. Paraffin will ultimately taint the floor and it could get into the flavour of your food. So we want these nice little wax ball firelighters in the middle, just like that. And then these nice small pieces, and we're going to create what I call a Jenga cage. So 2 pieces that way, okay, and then 2 pieces this way. And you can see that if you can get the camera in there. And just keep going, build it up nicely. And what this does, it gives us a nice, really good surface area of wood for the flame to catch onto when we finally light the fire. Okay, some nice small pieces. And we're good to go. All right, so we're ready to light the fire. Another little tip that's useful as we do this next stage, these slightly bigger pieces, have a couple just in the mouth of the oven so they're warming up and drying out as the fire goes. Okay, so we're ready to light the fire. Make sure you use a match with a long stick on it, because if you don't, there's always the risk you might burn yourself, and obviously we want safety first. Okay, so here we go. And that should be it. Hopefully one match and away we go. You can see immediately we've got some nice flame going. All that little surface area of those small pieces of wood is all taking. And what you will see when you first light the fire, you will get a little bit of smoke, because obviously at this stage there's no energy in the fire, so we are going to get a bit of smoke, and some of it might drift out the front. We should see some coming out the top, but that should only last for about 5 to 10 minutes. After that, because these ovens are so clean burning, and this is what the whole DEFRA thing's all about. Obviously this smoke, we don't want it in our atmosphere. We all want to live green, but that's why these ovens have been tested and been proven that they actually only produce 2 particles of soot per million in an hour. So they're really, really efficient, really clean burning, and that's what we've got to watch for. There's lots of myths around, about the whole DEFRA thing, that if your oven's portable it doesn't need a DEFRA license, things like that. It's actually not true. The truth is, if you're burning solid fuel, you do need DEFRA. And let's not get too carried away with it, because obviously it's a rule, it's a law, yes, but actually it only applies if your neighbour complains and actually says they're not happy with the amount of smoke you're making. The council can come along and tell you to turn your oven off, and at worst case they can actually take your oven away. Obviously what none of us want is those kinds of things happening. So just be aware of that. When you buy your oven, try and find a DEFRA approved one. Okay, so what we're looking at now, the fire, you can see less than 15-30 seconds is already going really, really strong off one match. And now what we want to do is start to add 1 or 2 more little pieces of wood against the side of the fire, just to help us build the fire up. Okay, so very, very simple. But always remember, when you're building a fire, we want lots of air. So don't just pile everything on top of each other, because there'll be no air, no surface area. What we need is for the oxygen to flow in through the mouth of the oven. It will roll around inside the oven and it'll actually carry on burning. Okay, so now as you can see, the oven's been going for about, I don't know, 1 minute, 2 minutes. Fire's really, really healthy. We're looking at more piece of wood on, and as you can see, there's a little bit of smoke at this stage, which should be expected. So here we go, just putting 1 or 2 more pieces on. Obviously we need to be careful because it's now starting to get nice and hot. Okay, and there we go. And then what we can do is, once the fire's getting really hot, we start to use our tools. So this is the first tool that we're going to talk about. This is the tool we call the pizza peel. Okay, so basically what we use this for is for actually lifting the logs onto the fire nice and safely without burning ourselves. Okay, really easy. Okay, we'll also use this same tool later when we want to turn our pizzas. So now what we're going to do is just leave the fire to burn for maybe 15-20 minutes, and what we're looking at here is the oven now has gone all black on the inside. Okay, and what's going to happen over those 15-20 minutes, it's going to warm up to the extent that we're going to get a nice little white spot in the centre of the top of the oven. And then at that point, that's the time when we can move the fire to one side or to the other side. It doesn't really matter, wherever you're most comfortable. Obviously, I'm going to have the fire on this side today because I want to cook on that side because that's where I'm set up. But there's no problem. If you want the fire on the other side, whatever works for you. What we do say is occasionally you might want to actually swap sides just because it evens out the burn in the oven. Obviously, the ovens are really, really thick. They're really dense, refractory clay. But you will get a nicer balance if once every 3 or 4 goes you just switch the fire onto the opposite side of the oven. Okay, so now we've got a really nice fire going. We've already got some heat going on in the fire inside the oven, so it seems a real shame to waste that heat. So a couple of little things that we can do instead of wasting that heat is let's get some jacket potatoes in the back of there. You know, by the time this oven's ready in about half an hour, 45 minutes to do pizza, we can actually have some food ready to go along with the pizza. So just some jacket potatoes, very, very simply in tin foil. Nothing complicated about this at all. It's just making use of the energy that we're producing. Let's be efficient. There we go, nicely in the back of the oven. Job done. We're already cooking. We've had the oven on for less than 5 minutes and we're already cooking. Okay, so while we're doing that, let's prepare our next little dish. This can go in the oven as well. This is just some butternut squash that I've diced up earlier. Nothing special about it. We've just diced up some butternut squash. What we're going to do is we're going to stick some cloves of garlic in there. Maybe just 4 or 5 cloves. Okay, give them a bash with the back of the knife just to loosen them up. Get those in there. Okay, let's get some salt and pepper in there as well with those. Just a little bit of seasoning. Okay, really simple. And what we're going to do with this, we're going to soften it down in the oven and we're going to use it as a bruschetta topping. Okay, so bruschetta, little pieces of bread. You've seen them in all sorts of Italian restaurants with tomato and things like that on them. We're going to do this one with a nice butternut squash. Get some rosemary in there with that. Okay, let's get some chilies on there. We'll have them fresh off the tree. Okay, give them a quick chop. Really, really simple. Okay, get all those on there. Nice little glug of olive oil. Couldn't be easier. Bit of tin foil over that. Now when you're cooking with a wood-fired oven, what you're going to find is when it's really, really hot, you might sometimes want to protect dishes with tin foil. If it's not as hot, if it's just nice and gentle, maybe later on in the evening when you're letting it cool down, you just want to carry on cooking, you may not need the foil. But obviously, you've got 3 different types of heat going on inside this oven. We've got the direct heat coming off the fire, we've got the radiated heat coming down off the dome, and we've got the convected heat coming up off the floor. So obviously when there's a lot of direct heat, i.e. a lot of flame, you're going to get things that are going to burn unless we protect them. So we're going to put a bit of tin foil over the top of our butternut squash. There we go. And that's in the oven, already cooking, along with our fire warming up in the heat we've already got going. All right, making sure that all the time we're keeping the fire going with extra pieces of wood. Okay, really, really simple, making use of the oven the whole time it's on. Okay, so just to talk about a little bit about wood. Obviously there are lots and lots of different types of wood. In our oven, any wood oven really, what you should be looking to do is burn good quality dried hardwood. Lots of reasons for that. Obviously you get a really good heat output. You don't get any spitting. You can see here there's no spitting going on in the oven. We don't want spitting. But there's certain woods you need to be careful of. You mustn't use things like silver birch. It has a very, very high tar content and it's not very healthy for you. What you really want to be looking for is things like fruit woods are fantastic. Pear, apple, cherry is absolutely superb. Smells beautiful when it's burning. In Italy, obviously, they'll use a lot of oak, a lot of olive, if you can get your hands on it. What we're actually using here today is a wood called alder. Now, back in the sort of 16th, 17th century, when everybody was cooking with wood, everybody in England was using alder. Unfortunately, we cut so much of it that what we actually did was we cut down all the trees and we don't have any anymore, and now all of our wood, or all the older wood, comes from Scandinavia. We actually get ours from a company called Logs Direct. You can find them on the internet, www.logsdirect.co.uk. They have a great supply, and they actually specialise in wood for the Fornino. So whilst you can get wood for any of our ovens, they actually do have a special range for the Fornino, which is basically these smaller pieces, because obviously with this tiny little oven you really want these small pieces this length. If you imagine these at the side of your oven inside on the fire, they're not taking up a lot of space, and you're going to get the maximum cooking area from the least amount of wood because of the quality. You know, what we don't want happening, as you'll see with some wood-fired ovens, you actually have to get it hot and then you have to take the fire out in order to be able to cook. That's not necessary with the Valoriani Fornino. You know, basically we can keep the fire going all the time, which means in actual fact, if we wanted to, we could cook almost forever without stopping, just by keep adding another piece of wood. Okay, so we've been going now about 15 minutes while we're waiting for the fire to come up to temperature and get that little, you know, critical white spot in the top of the oven. Let's just have a little look around the oven itself. Okay, so what we're looking at here is the Valoriani Fornino oven. Okay, absolutely fantastic little baby oven, developed by the Valoriani family. Been making this type of oven from refractory clay since 1890. Fifth generation family business. We've been working with them now for 15 years, and whilst I always wanted the baby oven, I've been trying to develop this for nearly 12 years now, and it was really difficult to get a true Italian family to believe in the concept of a little tiny baby oven. But then the Valoriani family suddenly realised that actually there is a market for a baby oven out there, and they started to make the Fornino, and we can just look, by just going around it slowly, if you look at the quality of the metalwork in the legs, it's completely different to the standard quick box section legs that you'll find on all the other ovens on the market. Our stand is so stable, so well built, it's actually on wheels, which you'll find that none of the ovens on the market are on wheels, quite simply because they wouldn't be safe if they were on wheels. Okay. Got a nice stand here that you can see we're using for logs, could just as easily use it for pots and pans and things like that. Got this beautiful designed front with the fantastic Valoriani logo. The shell itself is actually made from steel, it's powder coated and galvanised, really well insulated, and the inside, that's what it's all about. The important thing is inside. So you've got inside here the same cooking floor that's in every single Valoriani oven. The ovens that are in places like the River Cafe, Harrods, Jamie Oliver's restaurants have exactly the same cooking floor as this baby oven. Okay, it's a secret family recipe, been doing it for nearly 50-60 years. It's actually 5 different minerals, dry mixed, so there's no moisture in there at all. They're actually dry mixed under pressure and then baked for 3 days to get them actually to the density and the quality that they are. The actual dome itself is made from a different mix of refractory clays, and it's important to talk about refractory clay. This is a natural product. It's actually made by the nature around us. It's not an artificial made from cement mixed with metal particles, which sometimes you'll hear that called micromesh technology. Micromesh technology, you know, 40-50 years ago the Italians were playing with micromesh technology, found that it didn't work, they found it was unreliable, they found it didn't retain the heat properly, they found that the metal particles heat up differently to the clay, and ultimately the ovens disintegrate very quickly. You'll probably find a micromesh oven last you maybe 2-3 years if you're lucky. This oven is going to last you a lifetime, and by a lifetime I mean if you look after it. You know, we've got ovens that are still out there that people have had since 1993. I can't do the maths that quickly, but I reckon that's about 26 years. 23 years. 23 years? 23 years. Okay. On this particular model, we've got some accessories. So you'll see this front extension shelf is actually a really nice little feature. Just helps you to actually have a little bit of space to rest things on when you're putting things in and out of the oven. So maybe if you're putting a pan in the oven, you've just got that little shelf to rest things on. That's actually an accessory that you could buy for Dad for Christmas if that's what he wants. And also on this one, we've got the tool rack. It's a 2-piece set. You've got the thing at the top for holding your tools, and you've got your little cup at the bottom for actually getting the tools into. And it's really handy because it keeps your tools where you want them, but at the same time, they're out of the way and nice and safe. Again, it's an accessory. Buy that for Dad for Christmas. Also here today, we've got the infrared thermometer gun. If you should wish to use one, simply point it inside the oven. We're currently going to go, we're actually on the crown of the oven, we're now up to 400 degrees C. Okay, most wood-fired oven cooking is done by touch and by feel, the same as it would be with a barbecue, but it's a nice toy to have if you're showing off to your mates. I've got one of these. Look how hot my oven is. So what we're going to do now is, we've got the white spot. We're now going to move the fire over to one side of the oven so we can create a nice space for doing our cooking. And what's important at this stage is that you've got a really good body, so we've got a nice fire going in there. And this is where we want to keep back some of our little pieces. So if we do actually kill the fire when we move it, we've got these nice little light pieces to really reignite the fire again. Now to do this, we're going to use two tools, okay? We're going to use the brush, which is a great tool because it's used for sweeping, okay? And it's a really good tool for just moving everything to one side. Okay, so very, very simple. Just move our fire over to the side of the oven. Okay. And what we're looking to do is create a nice big space for cooking. So there we have, we've still got our jacket potatoes, we'll put those towards the back. And then just sweep the rest of the fire out the way. And there we go. Now one little tip to be really, really careful of: when a tool has been in the oven that long, I was in the oven there for nearly 30 seconds sweeping the floor, it's going to get very, very hot, the section that was in the oven. So from there to there is extremely hot. So you can see I've got hold of it down there. Don't make the mistake of pulling it out of the oven and grabbing it just there. You will burn yourself, so just be careful. And that's important. It's also very important when you're using this tool, because you will be tempted with this pizza peel to stand with it in the oven while you're making a pizza, while you're moving a dish around, and it will get hot. Now you'll see with this tool, it actually has a plastic slider on it, okay? So always hold it with the plastic slider, and then that way there's no risk of putting your hand on a really hot piece of metal. So just be aware of the plastic slider. And this tool's really useful now that we've moved the fire. We can just get those last one or two bits of logs, get them nicely tucked into the side. And what we're really trying to do is get that fire tucked up as near to the side as we possibly can. And this is where using these smaller pieces in the Fornino really comes into its own, because with the small pieces we can get it really tucked into this curve of the oven and actually have the maximum amount of space for cooking. Okay. So what we've done is we've moved the fire to the side, and what I've realised is what you can't see on camera, but we're actually at the back of the house. There's a passageway down the side of the house, and we're actually in a little bit of a wind tunnel. Now this is where the Valoriani Fornino's come into its own. Because it's on these fantastic wheels, I've been able to actually just slightly alter the direction of the oven into the wind, so that I've actually now not got wind blowing directly into the mouth. So it's a great little feature. Knock the brakes off the wheels, spun the oven just slightly. So now what you can see is what we've been looking for is the rolling flame across the top of the oven. The flame needs to be rolling this way, okay? What you'll see on the television a lot is you'll see fires at the back of the oven. There's lots of reasons why you don't put the fire at the back of the oven. Quite simply, it's really, really obvious, some of the simple things. I want to put a new log on the back of the oven. If I put my log to the back of the oven like that, I've got to lift it over the top of the food. With the fire on the side, I don't have to lift it over the top of the food. I can just slot it inside there, or completely away from the food, okay? So there's no reason whatsoever for there to get any ash or any dust onto my food, all right? Lots of other reasons. The next good reason not to actually have the fire at the back of the oven is so that when you're actually sweeping the oven, it's a much easier, much more natural movement to sweep the ash to the side than it is to try and do this away, okay? And then finally, the really kind of, if you like, the obvious reason for not having the fire at the back of the oven is when you're actually putting food in and out of the oven, okay? So in this case, we've got our butternut squash still cooking nicely, okay? If the fire's at the back of the oven and I slide it in, I'm going to slide it straight into the fire if I'm not careful, and especially when we're doing pizza later, it's It's very, very easy to slide your pizza straight onto the fire. But with the fire at the side of the oven, I've got a nice clear space. I can slide it in there, away from the fire, no risk of it going in the ash. Okay, so the fire should always be at the side. The ovens have been designed for the flames to roll across and around the top of the oven. So one little accessory that we haven't mentioned yet that's quite useful if you want to buy Dad something for Christmas or for his birthday is what we call the fire dog. It's also sometimes referred to as a log rack. Very, very simple. It's a piece of metal. You can see that it's actually got holes in it. It's designed for two purposes. One is you can use it to rest logs on it like that, which helps you keep air under the fire. Alternatively, the other way that's great to use it with the Fornino is, as I've been using it, as just as a fire guard. It just holds that fire back out of your way and gives you a really nice big cooking area. Okay, so the oven's been going now for maybe around half an hour. Got our butternut squash still going in there. We've got our jacket potatoes in there. Not quite ready for pizzas just yet, but obviously we can still be doing some cooking with this nice lovely heat. So let's have a go at doing a few small bruschettas. So first thing we're going to do is take our butternut squash out that we've been preparing earlier. Okay. Discard the tin foil, we don't need that. Let's get that down here. So that should be nice and soft now. Really handy if you can find one somewhere. Probably the internet is one of these 300-degree gloves. Really useful when we're going to hold this hot dish now, just to get some balance on here. Okay, and then we just want to crush this down nicely, nice and soft. Get all that garlic, all that chilli, all that rosemary mixed in with this butternut squash. Okay. And that's the greatest advert for smelly vision we've had so far. All of the recipes we're going to do today, you can find them on our website. You can find them in our little cookery book that we're prepared. Certainly if you've got any of your own recipes that you'd like to share with us, by all means tweet them into us or send them into us on Facebook or by email. We'd be happy to incorporate them into the next recipe newsletter, the website, wherever. If we think it's good enough, we'll happily share it with other people. Okay, so what we're going to do now, we're going to move on. We've got some nice pieces of French stick. Just cut them, maybe about an inch, 2 centimetres, something like that. Drizzle them with a little bit of drop of olive oil. Very, very simple. Just a little drizzle and then into the oven. Okay. Now this is the point where it's not a good idea to turn your back for too long, because you're going to be surprised how quickly those are going to toast in this beautiful warm oven. Okay, in the meantime, what we've got here, we've got our little 3 toppings. We've got our butternut squash, which we've prepared in the oven. This one here is a nice cold mixture of peas and broad beans, mixed with a bit of Parmesan cheese, bit of lemon, bit of mint, salt, pepper. Just blend it up. Really, really simple. And then you've got your classic Italian bruschetta. Really good quality tomatoes, chopped up with a bit of salt, pepper, chopped garlic and some fresh basil. Okay, and you'll see in a minute the beautiful colours and the beautiful arrangement that that gives us, just as a quick little starter, a little appetizer while your guests are arriving, waiting to eat some fabulous pizzas and some fabulous meals later. Okay, quick turn of our bruschetta toast because it's already cooking nicely. 15 seconds worth, give it another 15 seconds. Keep an eye on the fire, keep feeding the fire. Want to keep warming the oven ready for our pizzas later. Okay, and here we go. So there we go, our lovely little toasted bruschettas. Probably what all of you will have hands as used to this kind of temperature as I have. But that's already getting nice and warm in my hand, even with my 300-degree glove. Okay, so very, very quickly, let's get some of this lovely pea, broad bean, Parmesan cheese, lemon, salt, pepper, mint. Beautiful. Bit of tomato on a couple of these. Okay, and then some of our butternut squash. Okay, really, really simple. Got my cheese covered just to keep it nice and safe. Just finish these off. A little bit of mozzarella cheese on there. A little bit of basil on these ones, on the tomato. How about that? And then we've got our little berry tomatoes, okay, just on the butternut squash, just for a little finish. Little drizzle of olive oil over the top of that little lot, just a quick splash. And there we go, a nice little appetizer just to give to your guests as they arrive. As quickly and as simple as that. All done in real time in the beautiful Valoriani Fornino oven. Okay, so we've done our bruschettas. Just have a quick check to see where we are with the temperature of the oven. We're currently at about 340 on the floor and around about 400 on the dome. For pizza, I'm looking to get it up to maybe a little bit nearer 400. Obviously, anything from about 350 up to 450 is where you'd want to be with pizza. A true Neapolitan pizza is cooked at 450 degrees to 500 on the floor, but realistically, most people can't actually handle a pizza that fast. We're talking 90 seconds to cook a pizza in this oven. So I like to cook around 350 to 400. Just gives you that little bit more time for the amateur to actually be able to cope with a pizza in this oven. So we're getting close to pizza temperature, but we've done our bruschetta. What I want to do now is just another quick little appetizer that you can do for your friends. So all we've got here, a few little button mushrooms, straight in the pan, no problem, no need to chop them up, do anything with them, just straight in the pan. Let's get a little bit of garlic in there with those. Okay, very, very quickly, smash your garlic on your worktop, give it a quick chop. Okay, in the pan. Okay, little drizzle of olive oil, to keep it really simple. Touch of salt, touch of pepper, a little bit of oregano, put some fresh parsley on there in a minute. Let's get that in the oven, get them sizzling away. Okay, now obviously the great thing about the Fornino, you can see my wood's already lighting on the front of the oven. I told you could keep it at the front. Here we go, let's get that in there quickly. Another great thing about the Fornino is its portability. Imagine the sun happens to be over that side of the garden this afternoon, so you can move your Fornino over that side of the garden. Just get a little bit of fresh parsley ready for those. All in real time. Sizzling away, and a little drop of white wine just splash in there. You can hear the sizzle. Okay, so while we're waiting for those to cook, let's start to prepare the next dish. Nice little piece of sea bass, how about that? Caught it fresh this morning, don't need the glove on for this one. Very, very simple. This one's already been filleted and gutted, or sorry, not gutted, not filleted. A little bit of salt, a little bit of pepper. Very simple little recipe, this one. I like to keep everything simple so that everybody can do it. A few capers going in there. A few olives going inside there. Okay. A good sprinkle of oregano in there as well. All right. Get some of these beautiful little tomatoes in and around here. Okay. Quick clove of garlic. Love garlic with everything. Just get that in there. We're going to do this, as they say, what we call in Italian, cartouche. So we'll actually just do it inside the tin foil. Again, a little bit more sprinkle of herbs on the outside. Keep it really, really simple. Little drizzle of olive oil over there. So there you go, a few little tomatoes around there. Just keep an eye on this because our mushrooms are cooking nicely in there. You can see there, look at that, 2 or 3 minutes. Let's get this parsley in here with these. Okay, back in the oven. Don't forget, 300 degree glove, absolutely fantastic. You can also find these online as well. That one also takes 300 degrees, hasn't got the fingers, but it's still a fantastic product. You know, that frying pan now is actually really, really hot. It's been in a 350 degree oven for nearly 3 minutes. Okay, back to the sea bass very, very quickly. Just to give it something to cook in, a little splash of white wine in there. Okay. Just make sure we've got a little drizzle of olive oil on there. Okay. And then seal it up inside the tin foil. So it's almost going to steam cook inside there. Now, there's absolutely no reason whatsoever not to put it in the oven like that, as long as it's well sealed. Safer though, put it in a little tray. That way you guarantee that you're not going to get all those fishy oils onto the floor of your oven, should it actually decide to leak slightly. Okay, let's have our mushrooms out. Mushrooms are ready. Okay, where do we want? What do we, whoa, come on Andrew. Quickly, quickly, quickly. There we go. How about those? Beautiful. White wine, garlic, fresh parsley, little salt and pepper. Away you go. There we are. Pass those around the film crew. Okay, sea bass in the oven. Probably going to need around 5 to 10 minutes to sea bass. Okay, all the time while we're doing this, making sure that the fire is rolling over the oven and the oven's gradually building up in temperature. I can see now the whole of the oven is almost white again. So it was black when we lit it and now it's almost white again. And that's always a good sign that we're approaching pizza temperature. Just keep feeding it gently. And just a quick tip, because I do use a lot of tin foil, my chef mentor Stuart was teaching me the other day that the important thing about tin foil is it actually has two sides. It has a shiny side, which I can look at to shave with, or it has a dull side, okay? And what you do is you always cook with the shiny side in, okay? If you cook with the shiny side out, it's actually going to reflect the heat away from the food. But we do use a lot of tin foil when we're cooking with a wood oven, just to protect it, as I said earlier, from the direct flame. Okay, so while we've been doing the sea bass, I've just put a little stew in the front of the oven that we actually made earlier. I'm going to have to put both gloves on to do that, because it's a very heavy casserole pot. Very important when you're using these ovens to use really good quality cast iron cookware, okay? The ovens at nearly 400 degrees C can get hotter, can go up to 450 degrees C, 500 degrees C. If you put ceramic cookware in there, there's a good chance it's actually going to shatter and crack. So good cast iron pot is what you need. So what we did here, did it earlier, a little bit of chickpea, celery, carrot, a bit of onion, bit of garlic, bit of red wine, bit of white wine, bit of masala, tomato sauce, a little bit of chicken stock, and that is what I call Nonna's favourite soup. That's called pasta al chichi, okay? Absolutely gorgeous. These guys are going to be eating that while I go and rescue the sea bass, which has now been in there for around about 10 minutes. And what I want to do very, very quickly is just open it up, see how we're getting on. It's cooking nicely, okay? And what we're going to do is just actually put a few of these lovely king prawns in here with this, a few little crayfish, okay, just to dress it all up nicely. A little bit of a drizzle. Back in the oven just for another 2 or 3 minutes, just to cook nicely. And as you can see, what I've got now, the oven's really nice and hot. It's almost ready for pizza. So I'm just using my little candles, just so that all I'm doing is putting a little bit of light, a little bit of direct flame in the oven without actually increasing the temperature too much, because it is important. You can get these ovens too hot on the floor. Obviously it's a very, very high quality baking stone, but you can get it too hot, and if it's too hot you're just going to burn the bottom of your pizzas before you've cooked the top of your pizzas. So it's just about getting that nice balance. Okay, so our sea bass has had about 10 minutes sealed, and then we've just taken it out, put those prawns and crayfish on and just finished it off another 2-3 minutes just in the oven. Okay, let's take it out. Okay. Smells absolutely delicious. And if you really want to, if your guests are a bit shy, quickly whip the head off, quickly whip the tail off, and open it up. Lovely fresh meat. There we go. Beautifully cooked. 10 minutes. Okay, so obviously it's important when you're using your oven to just keep on top of the wood. So you can see we've just put another couple of little pieces on there now. And if you look at the stand, you can see that, you know, we haven't even used a box of wood. We haven't even used half a box of wood, and we've been cooking now for nearly an hour and a half. So having great fun, but just make sure you always just keep an eye on the wood and add another piece every now and then. We've probably adding one of these perhaps every 5-10 minutes, a little piece like that, just to give us a little bit more fire and a little bit more flame. Occasionally you may need to put a slightly bigger log on so that we can give it a bit more energy and keep the temperature up, but it's all about that little bit of touch and feel. If you look in the oven now, you can see that the dome of the oven has all gone completely white. You know, we really are kind of getting towards the optimum temperature for making some lovely pizzas, which is obviously what this is all about. And the great thing about this oven, you know, if you think about what we've done so far today, you know, we've done some bruschetta with butternut squash, with pea and broad bean, with tomato, we did the mushrooms. It's all vegetarian food. There's none of this barbecue. It's all got to be about meat. Yes, later we'll do some meat. We'll maybe do a little bit of Tuscan grilling. But so far it's all been about vegetables, apart from the sea bass. You know, the soup was a vegetarian soup. So it's just such a great family product that everybody can enjoy. And now we're going to move on to the fun part, which is making pizzas. And of course, what's going to happen is hopefully I can show you how to do it, but then everybody's actually going to want to have a go. The kids will want to get involved. Everybody's going to want to make their own pizza. So you don't need to worry about being a master pizza chef, because everybody's just going to do it themselves. And that's really where the real fun of this thing comes. Here we go. Now the thing about pizza is if you go on the internet, you're going to see so many different variations of pizza dough, okay? The recipe that I like to use actually won the World Championships in 2013. It's from a gentleman called Michele Croce. He's a guy from Salerno in Italy, and he's a master pizza chef. And this recipe is just absolutely fantastic. There's only flour, oil, water, and a little bit of salt, a little bit of yeast. And there's just so many different varieties of recipe. But get online, you'll find loads. Go on our website, you'll find our pizza recipe. But it's just all about kind of the amount of less elasticity that you're going to get in the dough. It's all about getting that really crispy finish. And obviously this is just the first pizza that's going to go in the oven. And what I always like to do, this is my favourite little tester, just to see whether the oven's really where I want it to be. And it's just a really simple little focaccia bread. Just to open up the base, a little bit of olive oil on there, okay, maybe a little drop more. I'm going to have to open a fresh bottle. There we go. Now we can use this one. This one will do. Okay. Just smooth that out with your fingers. Who cares about fingers? It's all about eating out in the garden, eating a little bit rough, okay. A little bit of sea salt on there, just a sprinkle of sea salt. Okay, and then some lovely fresh rosemary on there. This is just really simple little focaccia bread, just to test your oven, just to see where it's at. We should be cooking this focaccia bread in anything from about 40 seconds to a minute, and it should be perfectly cooked and bubbled up. And I have to say, this is probably the recipe of all the recipes that I do. This is the one that seems to be everybody's favourite. I actually did this once at Jamie Oliver's house, and he sneaked over and got me on my own and said, "What did you do then? How did you do that?" And then he sneaked across another part of the garden and cooked it for himself and ate it. And then the next time I saw him, He was actually at Chelsea Flower Show, and all he did all day for his demos at Chelsea Flower Show was cook this particular pizza bread. Okay, so here we go. A little bit of flour just on the paddle, just to make sure nothing sticks. Moisture's your worst enemy when you're making pizzas with this kind of oven, okay? Because if you get any moisture on there, it's just going to stick and it's not going to slide nicely. So into the oven, and here we go. This is when we find out whether all that patient warming up and cooking as we've been going along is doing what we wanted it to do. And if you look, you can already see that's starting to bubble and cook up and brown on the outsides, and it's been in there probably about 5 seconds. Okay, so we've got our pizza bread cooking nicely in there. Now, with this style of oven, obviously you've got a lot more temperature the side of the fire than you have on the opposite side, so you're always going to need to turn your pizza probably at least once. So if we just pull this out now slightly, you can see that it's starting to cook on this edge, and probably the easiest way to turn it for most people is to turn it at the front here like this. Very straightforward. Just going to give that a quick sweep before I put it back in, only because it's nice and windy today. And then what you're looking for when you're cooking the pizza is to see that it's cooked on the bottom as well as on the top. So you'll see all those little brown spots on the bottom, and it's bubbling nicely on the top. Maybe get a little bit more wood in there, just get that flame rolling, just to crisp the top off nicely. Okay, there's our first, just to test the oven, just to see whether it's hot enough. Probably not quite as hot as I'd like it to be just yet for pizza. Gonna just put a bit more wood on there. Give it 5 more minutes to really stoke it up. But you can see that that's really nice and crispy, beautiful light bread. But the reason I know it's not quite hot enough is that that probably took around 2 minutes, and I would have expected it to take between 45 seconds and about 1 minute 30. So just slightly under temperature. But that's why I like to do this first, because it just tests the oven nicely for us. And it doesn't quite all fit on the board, so that piece will have to be eaten by the chef. Okay, let's not forget those lovely jacket potatoes that we put in right at the start of cooking. Been in there about an hour and a half, so let's have those out of there, and let's get these jacket spuds on the go. Look at this. And the other nice thing to remember about one of these fabulous ovens is, you know, don't forget, pizza's not just about wheat. It's not just about, you know, it's only for the few. You know, we've got a fabulous gluten-free recipe that you can cook gluten-free pizza in this oven. Get on the website, have a look. It was actually the first recipe that was actually gluten-free, wheat-free, everything free, and we did it last year for our pizza day. Okay, so here's our fabulous jacket potatoes. I'm going to put them on a clean board. They look just like they've been in the fire, how they should look. Nice crispy skin. Look at that, how soft you want them. Absolutely fantastic. Okay, get in there with some lovely fresh butter. Get some of these lovely prawns on there that we had left over from earlier, some of these crayfish. These lovely fresh prawns. Okay. Little tear of this lovely fresh parsley. Little squeeze of lemon just for those fish. Little season. Salt, pepper. 2 beautiful jacket potatoes. Okay, so pizza. Let's talk about pizza. This dough here is the Michele Salerno dough that I talked about earlier. This was made yesterday, so it's 24 hours proving. As I say, get online, you'll find lots and lots of different recipes. You'll find your own personal favourite, gluten-free recipes that involve semolina flour, quite popular with a lot of recipes so that they get that crispness. With this recipe, it's such a good quality that you don't actually need the semolina for that crispness. Now, this particular dough, as I say, been proven for 24 hours in the fridge. It's been out of the fridge for 4 hours. It's absolutely beautiful, lovely to work with. And always try and get it out the tray with one of these slicers, because that way you'll keep it round. It's much easier to work with it, start with it round and keep it round. Okay, so get your dough ball, and at all times you're just trying to keep it round. Get it on the flour to stop it being so sticky, and just tease it gently. Okay, really simple, and just keep it going, keep it moving round. Yeah, tease it out with your fingertips. Don't be frightened of it, plenty of pressure, just tease it out with your fingertips, keeping it round. Okay, and when you reach the point where it's actually big enough to get your hands onto, so you can get your hand on that. I've got very small hands, so it's easier for me, quicker for me. But at that point, nice pile of dough, and then just tease it out. You're using this side of your hand, okay, and this side of your hand, and the palm of your hand, just to stretch it out gently. Okay, really easy. And then when you've done that, okay, move your flour out of the way, because we don't want loads of flour under the pizza when we cook it. And just give it a shake to get that excess flour off it. Okay, give it a little toss if you need to do that. A lot of people don't need to do that. I do it because I need to show off. And the other secret about making pizza, of course, is don't wear your black work clothes when you're making pizza, because clearly it's guaranteed to cause you a problem. Okay, tomato sauce. Very much like pizza dough, everybody has a different recipe for tomato sauce. This is my recipe, very simple. 2 tins of chopped tomatoes, about 10 basil leaves, clove of garlic, a little bit of salt and pepper, and about a tablespoon of olive oil and a bit of oregano, maybe let's say a tablespoon of oregano, and blend it for about 30 seconds. Now the reason I do that is because the thing with cooking a pizza in this oven, it's all about speed, because what happens is this moisture is already soaking through that pizza base into our granite top, ready to actually stick and make our job even more difficult. So by actually putting all the ingredients into the tomato, it speeds up the process, because we haven't got to spend lots and lots of time actually getting those ingredients onto the pizza. They're already there. Okay, so then cheese. This is buffalo mozzarella. Obviously lots of people like different sorts of cheese. I like to use buffalo mozzarella, but you can use grated mozzarella. This is this one. Some people will use cheddar, different mixes. You get a 4 cheese pizza, which will probably have dolce latte and pecorino and different cheeses, parmesan. It's all an individual taste. Pizza toppings, very much an individual thing. What do you personally like? You know, this time we're just going to do a little seafood pizza, very simple. Just a few crayfish on there, a few prawns on there. Been using lots of prawns and crayfish all day today. There we go, really simple. It's really important when cooking with a wood-fired oven to keep the toppings to a minimum. You don't need lots and lots of toppings to have a great pizza. Keep it to a minimum, because that way it'll cook through nicely and it won't all get sticky and won't all soak through and get too difficult to cook. Into the oven. 2 minutes. "90 seconds, 2 minutes, bring it out, beautiful, cooked lovely on the bottom. See all that lovely little sparkling, like a marbling effect. This sort of marbling effect around the crust of the pizza, exactly as a true wood-fired oven Neapolitan style pizza should be. And now what we're looking for, pizza cutter, we should hear that lovely crisp as we cut into it. There it is. There we go, guys. Okay, obviously with any good meal, what we always want is a couple of really nice desserts. So we're just going to do a couple of quick desserts just to show what the oven's capable of. So all we've got here is a few strawberries, just been topped. I have to apologise because both of these desserts are actually going to turn out to be adult desserts. So what we want to do first with these strawberries is a quick gloop of squeezy honey. Okay, just get those on there. That'll caramelise, give them a nice sticky finish. Okay, a little bit of vanilla. I like to use one of these vanilla graters. Get that on there. Okay, just to enhance that, a little bit of vanilla sugar. Really decadent. Okay, vanilla pod in there. I've already split it, just run the knife down there, get those seeds out, get them in there. Beautiful. Leave the vanilla pod in there as well. Okay, and a little bit of fresh mint. Okay, quick squeeze of lemon. Okay, leave the lemons in there, and this is the really good bit. Okay, a nice glug of pims for them to saute in. Simple as that, done. Okay, while they're cooking, another quick dessert. Very, very simple again. Very, very quick bread and butter pudding, oven proof dish. Just get it in there. Okay, so we've got Nutella on that layer. A few raisins to get on there. This is where we get clever again, because it's again for the adults. Nice little drop of limoncello, just to soften the bread. Okay, another layer of bread on there. Give this one the honey treatment. A few more of these sultanas. Keeps it really, really easy. Little glug of white wine. Okay, so we've got our raisins, our honey, a little bit of custard, just 2 eggs, about a quarter pint of milk and some vanilla sugar in there. Just a little bit of custard, and there goes our bread and butter pudding in the oven with the strawberries. Okay, and if I can just find my glove. Strawberries have had about maybe 5 or 6 minutes. There they are, ready, beautiful dessert. Quick board. Okay, this is the way to go. Okay. Of course, you don't have to use your fingers, but I like to use my fingers. Drop of it. Beautiful syrup. And then just top that off with a little bit of vanilla custard, just a little drizzle there. There you go. One simple quick dessert straight out of the wood-fired oven. Baked strawberries in pims with mint, lemon, vanilla, honey, short crust biscuit and a little drizzle of vanilla custard. Okay, here's another one for the grown-ups. Little bit of mulled wine. We all like a little drink. So all we've got in here, some red wine, some oranges chopped up, a bit of star anise, a few cloves, a bit of allspice, and all I want to add to that, just to make it a little bit special for me, a little drop of sambuca. Okay. Just in the front of the oven. to warm up nicely. Okay. Meanwhile, in the back of here is our bread and butter pudding, already cooked, 10 minutes. This is for the kids, although they're not allowed any because it's obviously got alcohol in there. So we just tease them that little bit extra. A few little chocolate drops on the top of that. Okay. How about that? Bread and butter pudding in your wood-fired oven, 10 minutes. Okay, so what we're going to do now is a little bit of what we call Tuscan grilling. So again, here's another optional extra that you can have for your wood-fired oven. It's what we call a Tuscan grill. And the technique to using this is really quite simple. It turns your oven into a barbecue. So what we're going to do first is actually make a nice bed, like you would in a barbecue, of coals. So we'll just take our fire dog out of the way, and we're going to bring our fire, all these beautiful coals that have been in there warming up all day, bring them all back to the front of the oven. Okay, just like you would with a barbecue, Tuscan grill in over the top. Okay, so while we're waiting for the Tuscan grill, let's just have a little drop of this mulled wine that we've just been making earlier. Okay, where's my glove? Because if I don't wear my glove I'm going to burn my hand. Here we go. You can normally pour it with more skill than that, but what's lovely about cooking in the garden is it's meant to be rough. So our grill's now nice and warm. Straight away you can hear it sizzling. Get this lovely ribeye steak on there. And the reason we've got the coals on the floor is because obviously, just like a barbecue, all that fat's going to drop through, it's going to activate those coals, but it's not actually going to spoil your cooking floor. Because obviously when we're cooking pizza next time, what we don't want is all those meaty fats in our pizza dough. But already, I don't know if we can get a close-up on that, but you can see that sizzling in less than sort of 5 seconds. Yeah. Okay, so the great thing about the Tuscan grill is that obviously what we've got going on here is just like a barbecue. We've got the coals underneath that are actually, you know, cooking from underneath, but also because it's an oven, it's also cooking from the top, so therefore speeding up the cooking process by cooking from the top at the same time. So obviously the fact that it's cooking from the top and the bottom means that the cooking time is much, much faster than a standard barbecue. Obviously we're getting a bit more smoke now because we're actually generating smoke by dropping that fat onto the coals. Here we go. We left the children out of the dessert, so we'll let them have the sausages, okay? That seems fair, doesn't it? Beautiful ribeye, char grilled on both sides. Hot dogs for the children. Burgers for the grown-ups. Tuscan grill. So there you go, the end of a lovely couple of hours cooking with our Fornino oven. We've done some lovely bruschettas this morning, some mushrooms. We did some desserts, we've done some meat on the Tuscan grill, we've done pizzas, we've done some bread and butter pudding. We've done a whole variety of different things to show you that it's more than just a pizza oven. It's an oven you can do anything with. And in all that time, maybe 3 hours, we started with this box of logs this morning, and as you can see, we've still got at least a quarter of the box of logs left. So a very, very efficient little oven. Available on our website, or call the office 01772 250000. You can speak to myself, Dino, Paula, Bart. We're all there to help. And we hope you have many years of fun with your Valoriani Fornino. Get the kids involved, get it down to the beach, do whatever you can think to do with it. Send us your videos, send us your recipes. Let's all get involved. Thank you for listening.